Hello, friends. Get excited because you and I, for the next 15-ish minutes, are going to read directions. Why is that so exciting? Because directions tell us what to do, and you get to show what you know when you sit down to take the CAASPP performance task. And my thought is, let's make a plan of attack. Let's read the directions so that you know exactly what you need to do to shine. Here we go. We're also going to take a look at some of the fun tools that you have to help you while you are attacking the CAASPP performance task. Okay, look, here we are. We can even make ourselves just a little bit bigger. All right, look at this. Here we go. Right here, student directions. That's why we're here, to understand what you get to do when you are taking the CAASPP performance task part 1. All right, let's look at our fun little tools here. We can zoom in. Mink, mink, mink. We can also zoom out. Beep, beep, beep. This is a personal favorite of mine, the line reader. Watch this. Plow. Astronauts, informational performance task. Look at what we have just learned. What is everything that we're going to read and write about? Astronauts. What kind of an essay are you going to be writing after you finish part 1? An informational essay. Directions. They tell us so many things. Okay, here we go. Let's jump into it. Task. Ready? Your class has been learning about different types of jobs to prepare for your school's job week. Okay, we're figuring out what's going on. Your teacher has asked each person to learn about a different job. Makes sense. Do you have a guess about what kind of job you're going to be learning about? You think being an astronaut must be an interesting job, so you decide to learn about what it is like to be an astronaut. Key thing here, you have found 2 sources about being an astronaut. How many sources? 2. How many sources are you going to read? 2. How many sources are you going to take notes on? 2. We've just learned a very important piece of information. Here we go. After you have reviewed these sources, you will answer some questions about them. And when I look over here, I notice, do you see how many there are? 2. Briefly, and here it's giving us a plan of attack. Scan the sources. That means look them over very quickly to figure out the basics about them. And the questions that follow. So scan those sources and then scan those questions. Then go back and read the sources carefully so you will have the information you will need to answer the questions and complete your research. If you know me, you know that I love notes. It's going to give us 2 options in the directions. You ready? You may click on the global notes button, which is right here. Look at this. Hi, here's the place I can save my notes. Watch this. Whatever we type will stay here as long as we hit save and close. Right here. Okay, this is your global notes button if, unlike me, you like to take notes online. Because you may also use scratch paper to take notes. If you know me, you know I love my scratch paper. I've actually had the pleasure of taking this astronaut's performance task before? Notes, 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 notes. This, my friends, is the way that I rock the performance task. Notes. Okay, here we go. In part 2, you will write an informational article using information you have read. Did we know that already? Yes, we did, because it is often also right up here at the top. Boom! Do you think the directions are over? No. I don't know why they're so long, but that's one of the reasons that you and I are reading them right now. Okay, here we go. You ready? Directions for beginning. You will now review 2 sources. Did we know that? Yes, because we were paying attention earlier. You can review either of the sources as often as you like. They continue. Research questions. After reviewing the research sources, use the rest of the time in part 1 to answer questions about them. And note, see how the S is in parentheses right there? It could be just 1 question. It could be more. Usually it's anywhere between like 2 and 4. Your answers to these questions will be scored also. Your answers here in part 1 will help you think about the information you have read and viewed, which should help you write your informational article. Is that true? Yes, absolutely. Every time I find that taking my notes and answering these first 2 questions in part 1 always helps my brain write a better essay because I've really thought about the information. Are the directions over? Nope. They continue. You may click on the Global Notes button. Bing! There they are. Whatever we type will stay here. Or refer back to your scratch paper to review your notes when you think it would be helpful. Is it helpful? Yes, it is always helpful. Answer the questions in the spaces below the items. Note this space right here and this space right here. Okay, are the directions over? No. Here we go. Finish line. Oh, come on. Down, down. Both the global notes on the computer and your written notes on scratch paper will be available to you in part 1 and part 2 of the performance task. Are the directions over? Yes. That was it, okay? Those are the directions which we have now read together for part 1 of the CAASPP English Language Arts Performance Task. Go us! High five for you. Okay, let's review. Okay, here is our plan of attack, friends, for part 1 of the CAASPP Performance Task in English Language Arts. Number 1, read the directions. Have we done that? Check, done. Now, you may recall, it says the next thing you should do is scan the sources to figure out what the gist is. Do you know gist? It's like the basics, okay? The most important parts. Here's what I like to do as I scan. I scan the sources. Do you remember how many sources we have here? 2. All right, here's source 1. I always read the title because I figure the author chose to sum up what it's all about. What is it? What is an astronaut? Great. Okay, I like to see how long it is. That's the first thing I like to do. Okay, source 1 is a little bit long. I like to see if the paragraphs are long or if they're short. I do like to read the first sentence because, again, I feel like that's where an author tells you what's going on. Have you ever thought about what it is like in space? Sure, I have. Oh, right, so it's exciting, it's not easy, they train for hundreds of hours. You know how usually the first sentence often is the topic sentence or the main idea of the whole paragraph. I bet that's all about training. I bet the next one is all about the International Space Station. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Every astronaut has a special job to do. I bet it talks about those special jobs. They have no gravity. They're floating the whole time. All right, fun but work. Have we scanned source 1? Yes. Is there another source to scan? Yes. Let's look at source 2. Scan it, baby. Life in space. Great. Okay. Again, I'm going to read the first sentence. Many people say they want to be an astronaut, but do they know what it's really like? I bet they don't. Oh, and look at this. Haha. Sometimes the CAASPP gives a little summary at the top. This article describes what happens to astronauts' bodies when they go into space. It's actually a fascinating source. I read it earlier. Wow. A lot of things happen when gravity is not acting upon your body. Okay, and look at this. Let's see how many paragraphs there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are only 6 paragraphs. Look at how short that last one is. It's 2 sentences. Boom. We've got this. Okay. Let's look at our plan of attack. Did we read the directions? Yes. Did we scan the sources? Yes. Now, this is very helpful. It wants us to scan the questions. Why? It tells us, right? It tells your brain, okay, brain, as you're reading, this is the information we want you to be looking for. Let's move ourselves. Even a little bit more. To see, just scan, right, what the questions are. Okay. Here's what I have noticed in my experience with these practice performance tasks. The first question in the first part has always looked like this. Source number 1, source number 2. Here's the question. Click on the boxes to match each source with the idea or ideas that it supports. Some ideas may have more than one source selected. Okay, I love the performance task, as you know, and one of the life skills it really cares about is that all of us community members know where we got the information that's in our brains to make sure it's legitimate and that other people can go back and check. So, source 1, source 2, what you do, you look at this idea and you say, okay, well, was that idea in source number 1? Or was it in source number 2? Or was it in both? Tell your brain what you're looking for. Astronauts feel weak when they come back from space. Okay, we're going to look in the sources to see which source says that. Since objects are also able to float in space, astronauts can easily lift things in space that are heavy on Earth, which is really cool when you think about it. All right, so we're going to need to see which source does that fact come from. And finally, line reader, astronauts have a special view of Earth from space. Now our brains know what we're looking for as we're reading. And I can tell you the power of note-taking. Can I answer these questions because I took notes? Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Source 1, source 2. That's how it works. Okay, I can be like, that piece of information was actually from source number 2. Okay, we've scanned it. You know, the first question is very likely going to be asking you to identify which ideas came from which sources. Boom. There's only one more question to scan here. Number 2, explain why it is hard to be an astronaut. There we go. It just told us what we're looking for. Reasons that it's hard to be an astronaut. And look, it gets even more specific. Give 2 reasons, one from source number 1 and one from source number 2. For each reason, include the source, title, or number. Do you see how powerful notes are right now? Look at this. Source number 1. Source number 2. I can just look at them and see what makes it hard. I'll tell you right here in source number 1, it says you have to train for hundreds and hundreds of hours. That's a lot. Okay. Friends, did we do it? Did we scan both questions? Yes, we did. Check. Moving on. Next stage, get excited. Is this really necessary? Yes. What are you going to learn about astronauts? Are you going to be more informed leaving this performance task than you were when you started it? Yeah, and that's pretty exciting, okay? So get yourself excited. Be like, I get to learn about this new thing. Maybe you're not excited about multivitamins and it's about multivitamins. Get excited, okay? This is an opportunity to learn something new. You could teach somebody something that afternoon that they didn't know before because you're about to learn. Okay, surprise, surprise. Guess what the next step is? Take notes. Can I do this? Can I figure this out? Can I? Oh, wow. That took me a while, but okay, did it. Take notes. What are the main ideas and juicy details? I have a hard time paying attention while I'm reading. After about 2 minutes, I just start thinking about snacks. So, how do I fix that? You tell me. Taking notes. I get a pen. Sometimes I even get a black pen and a blue pen so I can alternate colors, right? Because it kind of helps my brain remember where I found things. There's a whole nother video on taking notes. I write the title, I underline it, and then write down the main ideas, write down the juicy details. Because do we know what we are looking for? Yes, we do. We want to know, why is it hard to be an astronaut? All right, I think we're doing an amazing job. Look at us. We're almost there. Did we read the directions? Yeah. Did we scan the sources? Yeah. Did we scan the questions? Absolutely. Did we get excited? I know I did. Taking notes. Pop, 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 pop. Okay, next step is you just go in there and you answer the questions. Okay, it is hard to be an astronaut because of the following 2 reasons. Source number 1 says, blah, 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 have to train for hundreds of hours. Source number 2 says your face is going to get all puffy. Your legs, they get skinny because there's not enough blood flow because gravity is not pulling it down as much. It's hard to be an astronaut. All right, you answer the questions. Do you submit right away? Haha, no. You review your answers through someone else's eyes. Wow, this is hard for me. Okay. Pretend you're a teacher and read what you've written. Pretend you're a neighbor and read what you've written. Ask yourself, can I make this more clear? Did I actually answer the questions? Make those improvements and then hit submit. Friends, do we have a plan of attack for part 1 of the English Language Arts CAASPP performance task? Heck yeah. And most of it really is about taking notes. Because who's your best friend on the performance task? Scratch paper. Get excited. Have fun. Now you've already read the directions. You know how to do it. So get out there and have a good time learning.